So, Zootopia. Um, I'm not going to be as animated. Probably, I had to do a re-record because due to I had some technical difficulties.
What is this supposed to be?
So we're just going to go from there. Um, I, I'm utterly baffled by this film. I'm equally as baffled that it has such high ratings, positive reviews. Last time I checked, it was like 99%. It's I don't know why they keep trying to do this. They keep trying to tackle themes of like social justice, tolerance, prejudice, oppression in their films, but they clearly don't have a clue as to what they're talking about. Like it's like I'm just it's basically it feels like they're going about that because it's marketable, it's popular. It worked in Frozen, it worked in Wreck It Ralph, um, and so that's kind of what this feels like. It feels like, yeah, dude, keep bringing up social oppression, or oppression because it's people love that. Everyone can relate to that. It's really popular right now. But in the process, they somehow just decide to kind of blanket all types of oppression and just under kind of one, like, oh, it's just speciesism now. But because they have such acute identifiers thrown into the movie, certain lines they have, to like certain times they actually try and like mix and overlap the issues of sexism with racism. And why did you think you could do that? Why would you even try? It's that like it starts out where you think it's okay. This is about gender. This is a gender thing. This is going to be a female empowerment tale, or something. And because but then it starts getting really um specific. I want to say they've got the fox spray, which is here, make sure you carry this around. Like, okay, that's directly referring to the fact that girls are told they have to protect themselves against rapists at all times. Which that's true. That's happened to me. That's happened to every other girl I know. That happens. Um, and okay, so and she's going in to be a cop. She's going into a field like a woman going into a very male dominated field, and everyone's telling her, no, don't do that. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. And she's at a disadvantage because of her size, not just that they don't actually bring it up as a woman, but at that point the connections were fairly clear. And then they have her beat up by this fox, and that got really rapey. It's like, okay, at first I thought, okay, this is kind of rapey, but I mean, I'm sure bullying can be like this. And then they bring in the fox spray stuff. Like, oh no, like now it's rapey. Good job. And I just, so I was like, oh, fine. So they're going with this, and then they get to the city, and suddenly she's like, bunnies can call each other cute, but it's weird if someone else says it. What did you just do? You can't do that. All of a sudden, what was her embodying gender issues, sexism issues, she now just leaped wholeheartedly into race issues like they're the same thing. No! You, I don't know, maybe that's a gender thing. From what I understand, that's usually thrown around with the N-word. That's very racially loaded phrase that they turn around there. So I'm pretty sure that's. And I mean, later on they get into don't touch the sheep's wool. They hate that. It's rude. Just don't do it. It's insensitive. That's clearly another racial tie. So they're trying to overlap them, and that the prey are just as racially oppressed as they are gender oppressed. But then they flip it, and they goes like, but the prey are framing the predators for being mean, and but the predators are totally framed. It's not actually them, it's magic flowers. You guys really need to cool it with the magic flowers. And then they try and turn it back on Judy. It's like, see, you have prejudices this whole time. And, and then it's about the poor predators are the what is this? This felt like some sort of, I don't know, weird, like extremist men's rights activists coming into the play here. And I kept like, no, it can't possibly, it wouldn't be that. They wouldn't do that. And it just kept like, that's honestly what this feels like. No, it's the predators that are the victims here. All of the oppression that the prey have endured, that's I don't know if it's saying it doesn't exist, but it clearly turns it all around. It's like that the prey are the ones that need to learn their lessons. They're the ones that are actually prejudiced. They're the ones that are actually making the judgments and oppressing the predators. And they're the ones that are ultimately framing them and being evil. And of course, those two characters are the female characters that are the prey. So they're the both gender oppressed group and the racially oppressed minorities, and then and the foxes are, I think they were also trying to kind of lay racial oppression on the predators as well, because Nick has internalized all of this and he's just playing into it. I think that comes up in discussions as well, when stereotypes are so thick and you're surrounded by them and you end up playing into them, and that's a part of oppression as well. And but then it wasn't, it just got so muddled. She when she first leaves, it feels like she's not blaming predators, especially foxes, anymore. No, Dad, I don't need the fox spray. Not all foxes are jerks. Not all foxes are going to try and eat me. And I know lots of bunnies that are jerks. Okay, it seems like she's got a handle on that. And then suddenly but it turns out she is afraid of foxes, so she's following him around. She's like, oh no, okay, he's fine. Oh no, he is shifty. And I guess she doesn't know, like, okay, you're a fox, but you're playing into your stereotype. And then it seems like they're friends, and then suddenly she's doing this interview, and all of these ignorant ideas, prejudices come spewing out. And even though they did allude to some of it before, that she may still have some of this against foxes, it still felt so out of the blue that she wouldn't be catching herself at saying this. And if that wasn't weird enough, then they had this whole thing where Nick basically was like, ha, see, he's like, do you think I'm gonna eat you? And he like scares her, and she reacts and goes for the fox spray. And she's like, see, I told you, I knew it. I knew you were just as prejudiced as everybody else. And it's like, no, she was attacked by a fox as a kid. Like, PTSD is a thing. She reacted instinctively. Yeah, you scared her. Like, but see, when Nick whipped out his, I was beaten up as a child card, the movie's like, yep, totally valid. When Judy had the same thing and she never brings it up. She got scratched. Like, why does she not have scars on her face? That would have been a great inclusion to that scene. Nick sees scars on her face and thinks, oh, maybe you actually have a good reason to be afraid of foxes. No, they're not going to give her that. And instead, she's like, oh my god, I'm such a terrible person. I don't deserve to be a cop. I have to go quit everything and run away. And she just goes back to the country, which at that point felt like, okay, this is really feeling formulaic now. Drops everything, goes back to the country, finds the essential clue, comes back, turns out the predators are not reverting to their instinctual DNA habits of being savage and eating prey. No, it's just a sheep, giving them magic flowers and framing them. I can't get over the sheep. It's a sheep. Why is it whenever we deal with issues of I haven't actually kept track of this trope. I need to start keeping track of it. But it feels like anytime they actually try to do something with sexism implied, in power struggles like that, it's never actually a man that ends up being the villain in the end. It's always a woman that is the villain in the end. Like, and I guess maybe presumably because it's usually guys making calling the shots on these films, they're making them, and they just don't want to actually imply themselves. Yes, we love female empowerment messages because they sell dolls. They're super just really popular, but we don't want to actually imply ourselves in that this topic. Um, it's like it can't always be if a woman has an issue with people and her gender that it turns out to always be another woman that's the problem. Um, yeah, sometimes, as you said, life is more complex than that. Well, apparently in this movie it isn't. It's not more complex. It's just the predators aren't actually doing anything wrong. They're just victims of stereotypes and being framed. Fine. What? And I think you could tell. They could tell that their message was slipping because and that this wasn't making any sense because suddenly we have stats being thrown in. We have numbers. She's like, this city is 90% prey. Where did that come from? The city is 90% prey. It's like you guys threw that in there. So now they can say, see, we're not directly referencing oppressed minorities. This is an oppressed majority. See, it's totally different. And it's like, just to make it a little more ambiguous, I guess. And with people, okay, oppressed minorities in real life, that's a real oppression. That's for real. This is just kind of a blanket statement of just, this, an oppressed majority, that's what you're working with? No, you threw that number in, and a 90%? That is such a desperate number. 90%. Oh, so, like, trying to make the predators out to be the minority now. The poor predator minority. I guess that makes sense because they kind of talked about, rabbits reproduce really fast, so I guess all prey, they just reproduce really fast. You know what, I'm not even gonna entertain that. Just it doesn't work. It's so confused. It's so backwards. Just you end up. It starts out as a tale about a girl going to the big city into a male-dominated work environment and basically being treated like crap. Which, I mean, that's a story you can tell. That happens. And it said they had to turn it around. It's like, but it turns out she actually had all the prejudices herself, and she had to learn the lesson. Okay, and the predators had to. Like, what did Nick have to learn anything? I kept thinking, like, is he? They relate to each other, but kind of. Actually, she never actually tells them. Oh my god, it's Marlon all over again. Yeah, she never. They don't. They relate to each other, kind of, in that they both relate to being to. He's a fox. She's a bunny. But then they never actually get to share that they're both were beat up as kids stories, which are identical. So they just keep that out. His is valid. Hers doesn't count. And he saves her job. She's about to be fired by her stupid manager, boss guy, Bogo, who's just an asshole because, I guess. And Nick walks in and goes, "No, I will have none of this. How dare you?" And he starts, like, reasoning through why she should keep. Yeah, she's still got 10 hours left. Like, okay, Judy could have done that. That's just stating a fact. She could have reasoned herself out of it. Instead, he comes in to reason himself out of it. And Bo was like, "Oh, this fox is talking to me. I should really pay attention. Oh, the fox is saying something." Like, what? Why? I thought nobody respect what foxes says, and now that the entire police force is like, "Oh, Nick is talking." What? And it's not like I don't think that happens. Like, a woman's got a problem in a job, and maybe with a higher up or something, and it takes actually a male coworker to give her any sort of leverage. I totally believe that happens, but I don't know if in this particular movie that's what you wanted to put in as a central scene, um, a pivotal scene, which it was. And I get it was leading up to Nick having his whole, you know, my name is Eugene, uh, sob story, which is those. It's basically Tangled. There's so much of this, even the two dynamics between Nick and Judy. That's basically Tangled. I didn't feel it worked very well in Tangled. I don't know if it worked any better here. I kept thinking I should feel a connection between these characters. There should be chemistry. Why isn't there? What's not working here? I still haven't put my finger on it. I don't know if I think it might have been they kept like complimenting each other too much and it got weird. It's like, oh, you're such a dumb fox. Oh, you're such a clever bunny. Who's such a clever fox? Who's such a dumb bunny? Back and forth, back and forth. But I was like, okay, enough. Too much. Like, you could be a good cop. Oh, you would be good at this. Hey, you're not bad at this. Hey, turns out constantly like, hey, you're not the stereotype. Hey, you're not the stereotype. Hey, I'm so impressed. Look at you not being the stereotype. Too much. You needed to drop some of that and actually just have normal conversations. I don't know how. I kept waiting for him to be involved. I kept waiting for her to actually come into conflict with the fact that she's getting help from this basically a petty criminal, or a small-time criminal, or what do you want to call him? Which he basically is. She doesn't seem to have any problem with that. And it keeps like if they found out she wasn't turning him in, couldn't she get in trouble for that? I kept waiting for that conflict to come up, and so that she actually has some sort of I need your help, but it could jeopardize my job. I don't know what to do. Never does. Never does do that. In fact, he comes in and tells the police force where to go, saves her job, and they're all like, "Oh, okay, Mr. Fox, yes." Uh, it's so backwards. None of it makes any sense. Oh, just I, yeah. I don't know what else. And I think the hyper sexualized gazelle um that was weird. I don't know why you would have thought to put that in a movie like this. And the nudist colony was also really weird. Um, there's blatantly no genitalia anywhere. You're telling us these animals just don't have junk, which that's great, I guess. Except you put them in a nudist colony. It's like, oh god, they don't have clothes. I guess this was trying to draw attention that Judy still has prejudices because it's gonna, play off of that later. It doesn't make any sense. I wasn't even paying attention to what it was supposed to be implying about her because I was so like, we have an elephant, legs up in the air. There's nothing there. It's just this blank, and suddenly you're not even paying attention to the dialogue. You're just like, how does this elephant even work? How is this elephant alive? How does this? Like, what is the point of having a nudist colony? Like, just put a bush there. Isn't that the whole gag where you're implying from behind, or you're not actually showing anything, but the characters are looking at really unsightly things, and they don't even do that. They're just like, look how shocked she is that there's nothing there. It's, and so Judy is shocked that these animals are just not wearing clothes. That's it. And the animals are not wearing clothes not to cover anything up, evidently, just they don't like the feel of clothes on their skin. I don't know. It's so weird. And also, it seemed like her entire arc was kind of generated just out of karma. Because she goes and helps and saves the mouse lady, comes back and helps her later, and that's just how all the clues happen. Because she was optimistic and chased her dream in one portion, that helping someone will come back and help her solve a major clue at a really convenient moment later. But that just keeps happening. It's like that's why it's too convenient. She can't just win everything out of karma and luck and having Nick save her. Like. And I'm not going to say none of it was her own problem solving and go-getter attitude. A lot of it was. It got lost. It still didn't feel like she was actually struggling. And I think this comes down to the characterization. Her characterization was just all in that she was the bunny in the police force that shouldn't be there. And all her personality is just spent with the go-getter attitude to try and compensate for that. which isn't to say that that shouldn't be there, but that's kind of all she was. I felt like the interplay even between her and Nick could have been better, a little more snappy. I don't know. She was missing something. I really wanted to like Judy. I felt like I should be able to relate to this character. I don't know. I don't know. And Nick just felt like the same way I felt about Eugene Flynn. Stop giving them different names. Flynn Jean. That was the same thing. It just felt like he had the exact same arc. I'm the tough guy. Oh, I have a tragic past. Those scenes, I swear, are identical. And it just felt like the characterization of the sly fox. Like, I don't know. It felt like it should have been pushed. If you're going to do the sly, sarcastic fox, it needs to be more. It needs to be done well. Flynn felt like it was just half-assed. They still wanted to have this kind of marshmallowy aspect, and that kind of just watered it down. This was kind of the same way. It was better, but there was just something. There just needed to push it that much more, and it was still just a little too mellow. And I don't know, not funny. Some of his lines were fine, but I don't know. Maybe a different voice actor. I don't know. Um, yeah, it's just there's I don't know what else I have to say about it. It didn't grab me. I walked out of it. I was confused. People around me were confused. It wasn't just me. Everyone's like, race is not the same. Just animals are now race. Oh, that's weird. So yeah, I I the 99% still baffles me. It's like it, it makes no sense. I mean, not that I. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what else I have to say. I'm just gonna keep repeating myself at this point. But wow, Zootopia. Good job, Disney. You're really making the world a better place.